This Thursday edition of Pucks Across Borders on Sports Addict Live, brought to you by none other than First Round Collectibles. What's your sport? Hockey, football, basketball, baseball, maybe even wrestling, maybe even boxing. Whatever it is, you can get it at firstroundcollectibles.com. Around Christmas time, I told you about this awesome sale they had from up to 50% off the majority of their website. Well, that sale is still alive and well, up to 50% off sports cards of all sports. And right now, with promo code Sports Addict, you get 10% off on top of any sales item. Even if a card is not on sale, you get it for 10% off with promo code Sports Addict. And if it is on sale, you get an additional 10% off. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com and find your heroes. That's the number one, STRoundcollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans.
Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Yeah, the beast back. Adrenaline pumping through my veins, can't relax. Original, I am not the same as these cats. I sting them if they never
And welcome, Thursday edition, Pucks Across Borders. Good to be here. At the top of your screen, you read his work about the NFL on Gridiron Heroics. You also read his work on Winners and Whiners. Andre, how we feeling on a Thursday, man? I don't know about down there, but it is cold up here right now.
I'm going to take a guess and say I'm a little warmer than you, but doing pretty well. Woke up to a new X-Men trailer continuing the 90s cartoon this morning. That was a nice way to get the day started. And now I get to talk about hockey. It's a great way to start a Thursday. So I'm ready to get after it.
Yes, sir. And at the bottom of your screen, you read his work about the NFL on Gridiron Heroics. John, how you feeling, man?
Feeling all right, man. I had a pirate as a Valentine last night with last-minute ticket to Seton Hall college basketball. Shout out to the Pirates there. They got a nice win over Xavier, and for the 1,000 singles out in New Jersey, we got out a little bit.
There's only 1,000?
It was a very small crowd yesterday. It was
The
like
city
half.
of love.
It was like half full, and they only opened up the lower level, so 1,000 or 2,000 people.
And I apologize, Andre. You also see him talk about the NFL and the NBA on Total Apex Sports. 12 games tonight. Lots on my mind, Andre. I dropped the ball a little bit on that. Just like I dropped the ball last night, boys. We swept our best bets last night. 3 for 3. Florida money line. Sharks plus 1.5. Under 5.5 in that same game. And full disclosure, I was at a movie with the missus last night, and as soon as the movie started, I realized, oh shoot, I didn't post our best bets. And every time I'm on my app, my wife just assumes that I'm on FanDuel or DraftKings, so I figured it's probably best just to leave it alone. So yeah, my bad on not posting it, but we did sweep, so congratulations, boy. We've been sweeping quite a bit lately. Feels good.
It's our year.
That's right. 2024 year.
We only have to hit like 1 or 2 a week to make a profit too.
I like your thinking, John. I like your thinking. Speaking of last night, not too much to dive into. I will quickly say Florida, big win last night over Pittsburgh, 5-2. We were talking about this a little bit pre-show. They're 2 points back now of Boston. I do think they overtake Boston. I do think they win the division. I also think that if you're a team in the East right now, in my opinion, I feel like the opinions differ across this show. Um, but in my opinion, if you're in the East right now, I think Florida's the team. I don't see a team that can beat Florida in 7 games. I think closest would probably be the Rangers, just because I can see the grit of the Rangers matching up with the Panthers. But just the depth on that hockey team, man. Like the Leafs are too soft. The Bruins not deep enough. Tampa Bay's defense, especially with Sergachev out for the rest of the year and the playoffs. Teams like Detroit, like I don't know if the Devils get in. The Flyers, somebody I can't remember who was it. Maybe Andre was making a case for the Flyers. But I don't know, man. I think the East goes through Florida, and I don't. I just, if I'm a Leaf fan, which I am, if I creep into that third spot, I'm hoping that Florida wins the division so we can play Boston in the first round. Not that Boston will be a simple out, but this Florida team, man, like Lundell gets 2 goals last night. Like when you got a guy like Lundell, no disrespect to him, but when he's popping off 2, it's just a super deep team, man. And I don't see any way around it.
You know, Mark, to your credit, DraftKings is updated odds to win the Stanley Cup. The Oilers are number 1 at plus 700, and the Panthers are number 2 in the top of the East at plus 800. So
Okay.
you got some backers in Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, I take a closer look. I don't know if they're winning the cup necessarily. Maybe. I mean, that's a whole, because the West is a gauntlet, man. Like, that's going to be a bloodbath to get to the top. Not that there's not good teams in the East, but I feel like you're talking about Vancouver, Colorado, Vegas, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Dallas. Like, that's going to be insane. So that was my takeaway last night. I mean, Pittsburgh, listen, they're no juggernaut. Not a surprise that they won. We picked Florida on the money line collectively last night, but just a huge win, 5-2. Again, you're getting depth scoring, you're getting good goaltending. Those guys, they aren't afraid to play dirty, to play tough, to play mean. And when the playoffs come, you need that in your DNA. And sorry, Leaf fans, Ryan Reeves on the 4th line isn't going to do it. John, let's move on to you, man. What's your takeaway from the NHL last night?
My takeaway is an announcement that got made off the ice. Earlier, I believe that the 2025 Stadium Series got leaked by an anonymous source, or I don't know if it was anonymous, but it looks like the Stadium Series is heading to Columbus next year, and I think that's the first time ever for them. So this is a sentimental one for me because the rumored matchup is the Blue Jackets taking on the Red Wings, and it's supposed to be on the Ohio State University campus in their legendary football stadium, so the Horseshoe. Ohio State and Michigan, arguably the best rivalry in college football. The NHL seems to be paying homage to that for their hosts next year with Columbus, and which is where Ohio State plays, and the Detroit Red Wings coming into town. So the Big House has gotten a Winter Classic before. I believe they even had we were talking about this before the show. I believe even the University of Michigan has played outdoors there before. So I'm excited to see what Ohio State can bring to the table for this Stadium Series. I like that the NHL is still thinking outside the box. As a college football fan, I think the Horseshoe is one of the best venues in college sports, maybe all of sports for that matter. So I think it's nice that they're getting involved with this type of event, and I'm looking forward to see how it plays out next year.
Yeah, that's really cool. I was saying to you guys before, I don't know if they'll even do this. You mentioned it, the colors will be swapped, but a little to pay like extra homage to college football, just get a Buckeyes jersey, Wolverines jersey. How dope would that be? I think that would be sweet, but we'll see. I would doubt that that would happen. As you said, it would legit be a color swap. Um, before we get into the games for tonight, forgot to mention yesterday. It's a big deal to me up here. I don't know if it's a big deal down there at all, but Phil Kessel trying out with the Vancouver Canucks. Wouldn't that be interesting? Won a cup last year, won multiple cups with the Penguins. He didn't really play much on the cup team last year. And it's so funny, man. All of the like fan videos asking Kessel to sign with the Canucks are just tours of the best hot dog spots in Vancouver, which is just the funniest thing, dude. Like to have a guy who has no shame and it's just like just walking through Vancouver, like the best place to get to get a hot dog. It's so funny, man. I love it. Absolutely love it. All right. Well, full night in the NHL tonight. So let's dive right into it. Boston, home to Seattle. Boston is minus 198 favorites, 198 favorites at home, plus 164 are the Kraken on the road. Minus 1.5 on the puck line for Boston is plus 136. Plus 1.5 for the Kraken is minus 162. The over is only 5.5 at minus 110, and the under is the same. John, we'll start with you, man. What do you see in this game tonight?
We talked about it a couple days ago with Boston getting a very tough loss at against Tampa Bay. It was a tough overtime loss for them, and Seattle got a nice win Tuesday night against the Islanders. With that said, I think this is a very bad matchup for Seattle here. They're taking on a team with elite goaltending, and Seattle, even Tuesday night, they only won 2-1. I don't think they can afford to do that again here in this matchup. I'm backing Boston all the way. The puck line looks to be, I believe, about plus 130. So I really like, or maybe a little higher. I like Boston here. I think it's a one-sided affair, and I expect them to get back on track after a tough loss Tuesday night.
I said it's plus 136, John. Do you not listen to me? I'm the
You.
host, bro. I'm the host. I need your I need your attention. Andre, what about you, man? What do you see in this game?
Just real quick, there was some breaking news that the Blue Jackets fired their GM. So
Ooh.
I guess the price of a stadium series is the head of your front office. But
Wow.
I was surprised by that. I didn't expect that on a Thursday morning at 9:30. But
yeah, what did they think that was the perfect news? This is like the perfect news dump. Oh, the stadium series. No one will ever know.
I guess so. I don't know. It's tricky. Ohio's a tricky state sometimes. But looking at this game, I see two struggling offenses right now. The Bruins, only 2 goals against Tampa on Tuesday, got shut out on Saturday. Scored 4 against Vancouver. That's pretty good. And then on last Tuesday, coming out of the break, they only scored 1 against the Flames. All those games were at home. I know, especially with Tampa and maybe I'll lump Washington in there. You should expect more goals against those teams. The Kraken also struggling to score. 2 goals on Tuesday, 1 goal on Monday, 2 goals on last Saturday. The last game before the break, they got shut out by the Sharks. So neither of these offenses are doing much right now. That's, to me, is why the total's 5.5 for this game. 2 top 10 teams that keep the puck out the net. 2 offenses that can't buy a goal right now. I'm going to trust it. I'm going to take the under 5.5. I don't feel confident taking either side right now. if I had to, I'd expect Boston to win because, again, I hate taking them to lose multiple times in a row, but I don't think they're going to win by multiple goals in a low-scoring game. And I'm not sure if the 60-minute line is even enticing enough for me to take it on its own at minus 130. So I might just stick to the under in this one.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. I don't mind the minus 130. If you got to put something down on it, that's probably the move when it comes to a side. I do like the under as well. The thing that concerns me about the under is that Boston does have the capability to just say enough is enough and let's ball out and, put up 5 just for fun. They do have that ability. The way that the season has gone, like they're 19th in goals per game. It's not like they're lighting the lamp really at all this year, but you do have these weird games where they can just score, like against Vancouver last week, scoring 4 in the first period. 2 of them shorthanded. They just have these like weird games where they can score a bunch of goals. I don't mind the minus 130. I do like the under. Strangely enough, I'm probably staying away from this game. I just feel like Boston is the move, but like you said, Andre, the odds aren't really compelling either way. The puck line does seem a little bit like I like the puck line in theory, John. I just feel like Seattle's goaltending can lock it down when it wants to. So I'm probably staying away. I don't mind the minus 130. What I will say, Pasternak, 8 points in his last 5 games, over 1.5 points, over shot total, whatever is Pasternak, take it. I like anything that he has to offer. Moving on to Anaheim and Ottawa, my nation's capital. Ottawa minus 198 favorites at home. Anaheim plus 164 on the road. Over 6.5 is minus 135. The under is plus 114. Plus 1.5 for the Ducks is minus 142, while minus 1.5 for Ottawa is plus 120. The first thing that I looked at here was the 60-minute line, seeing Ottawa minus 155. Ottawa, we talked about, I've mentioned this for the last couple weeks now. It's the time of the year where Ottawa wins hockey games. They don't win it when it matters, but they'll win it now. I really, really do like Ottawa in this spot. Minus 1.5. I like it. The 60-minute line is way too expensive. The money line itself is too expensive. I think, and even the over, like minus 135 for the over, even that is expensive. If I'm going to make a play on this game financially, I'm picking Ottawa at minus 1.5 plus 120. I really, really like the over. Similar to the game against Columbus the other night, I would consider taking an alternate total of 7 or 7.5. Just because I know that like Anaheim isn't the highest scoring team in the league by any means. But we've talked about this with Ottawa's defense and with Ottawa's goaltending. That team just cannot buy a save to save their life. So for me, I'm picking Ottawa to win it. I'd pick the money line or the puck line, and I'd consider an alternate over. Just these odds in this game just are too expensive for me. When we're talking about the puck line or talking about the money line, talking about 60-minute line. But Ottawa's playing really good hockey right now. There's no two ways about it. They're scoring a bunch of goals, but they're also allowing a bunch of goals. So I have no problem looking at a over 7.5 total. John, what about you, man? What do you see in this game?
I have pretty much the exact same sentiments that a lot of these odds are a little expensive for my taste. With the way Anaheim looked on Tuesday, I do not feel confident enough in them to back a money line play here. And you're right, both Ottawa can't save their lives. Well, they can't find a save to save their lives most of the time. But I will say this is a good matchup for them, in my opinion, because it's kind of similar to the other night when they played Columbus, where they're playing a team that's bad at scoring and also bad at goaltending as well. Ottawa and Anaheim are 2 of the 5 worst teams in the league in goals allowed per game. So Ottawa's at least playing a team that's not much better than them. Plus, the separation for goals per game is tremendous. Ottawa's in the top 7 in the league, and Anaheim, I believe, is in the bottom 4 in the league in goals per game. And Ottawa's very weak on all aspects of special teams, but again, Anaheim really not much better. So I'm with you, man. I feel like Ottawa puck line is the best value play here.
Andre, what do you see here, man?
It's a clean sweep of the ice on this one. Ottawa, better team at home this season, never has issues scoring at 5-on-5, and they're on a bit of a heater, 4 straight wins. Going up against a Ducks team that just gave up 5 in Montreal, just gave up 5 to the Oilers. That's their 2 games coming out of the break. It's a bad spot for them. It's a really bad spot for them. Senators are going to give up probably 3 goals, but don't be surprised if they score 5 or 6, and that's enough for the over. That's enough to win or cover the puck line. So I'm taking the Senators -1.5. Like you, I would bump the total up to 7, just for the better odds. I don't like the over 6.5 at -135 right now. So over 7 also in this game. I think we pretty much all agree on this. So
Yeah, I think that's the best way to bet Ottawa right now is if the odds don't line up with what you want to pay for it. Just bet the over, and you're basically betting an Ottawa win when it comes to opponents like this. All right, moving on to Andre's boys in blue. Montreal is in New York at Madison Square Garden to play the Rangers. -265 favorites at home, +215 underdogs on the road are the Canadians. -1.5 for the Rangers is -105. +1.5 for the Canadians is -115. The over is 6 at -112, and the under is -108. As always, Andre, starting with you, man. What do you see from your boys in this game tonight?
well, when we went to Bell Center in that dreadful month called January, spotted the Canadians 3 goals and still managed to salvage a point out of that. With the way the Rangers are playing now, which is much, much, much better, especially defensively, and the fact that it's in the Garden, not in Montreal, where Chris Kreider still remains like fill-in number 3. I think it bodes really well for New York. I like the -1.5 at -105. I feel pretty good that they're going to be able to keep Montreal from scoring in this game. The Canadians, 27th in goals per game, 27th in goals per against, also weak PK, below average power play. They're scrappy, but there's not really much that threatens you. And the Rangers just had stellar performances defensively against the Lightning, against the Avalanche. They shut out a very hot Flames team on Monday. They're playing well against teams playing well, and they're on home ice. So I like the -1.5, and I think I would take the under 6 more confidently than the over. But this total is tricky to me. I wouldn't touch it.
Yeah, I'm with you on the total. At first glance, I like the over. but it's kind of hard to read. I also like the Rangers -1.5 here. I um my heart wants I love me some Habs, and I would love to back them on even the +1.5. Like the +1.5 being -115. Sorry, the -1.5 being -105, and the +1.5 being -115 is super interesting to me. Both favored. I do, I, I don't know. Something about this game is telling me one score game, but I just gotta trust the way the Rangers have been playing right now. I know the Canadians beat the Ducks 5-0 the other night, but it's the Ducks. Like, what are we talking about here? I really, really like the way that the Rangers have come around. A little side note here: Lafreniere +190 to score a goal tonight. He's got 3 goals in his last 5 games, and Nick Suzuki for the Canadians. Am I seeing? Oh, here it is. I thought it wasn't on the board. Here it is. +210 for him to score. He has 6 goals in his last 5 games, 10 points in his last 5 games. So Suzuki +210 to score, and Lafreniere 3 goals in those last 5 games. He is +190. John, over to you, man. What do you see in this game?
Pretty much the same thing. I got to find something else to pick besides puck line soon, but I think this is going to be the third. I think this is going to be the third game in a row I back the puck line here for the favorites. I don't see a reason not to here. I was looking at the total, but then I looked at the power play and penalty kill stats for these teams, and I got scared off by it because Rangers power play is over 25%. Montreal's PK is under 75%. I think that's a huge mismatch in this game. Rangers are just a better team, scoring team, goaltending team in general. Goaltending, they're top 7 in the league in goals allowed. Montreal's bottom 6. Rangers also much better at scoring too. But yeah, I'm like you. I'm not buying that 5-0 win because, well, they played the Ducks. So congratulations, I guess. I feel like this is a big step up in class for Montreal. Then I'm questioning if they're ready for. Yeah, I feel like the Rangers puck line is the best way to go here.
All right, moving on to my team. Toronto Maple Leafs home against the Philadelphia Flyers. Not like super conflicting because the Flyers aren't the Eagles, but I still love me some Philly. Been to that city many, many times. Terrific city. Love it there. However, they're playing my team tonight. My team is a -148 favorite, which I disagree with. I think they should be favorited. -148 seems a little bit rich to me, just with the way that the Flyers have been playing. I know that the Leafs beat the Blues the other night 4-1, but it is what it is. -148 are the Maple Leafs at home. +124 are the Flyers on the road. -1.5 for the Leafs is +160. +1.5 is -192. The over is -115, and the under is -105. So I threw the line out there for the Blues when the Leafs played the Blues the other night. Now, closer to puck drop, I think it was +178 or something like that when we talked about it in the morning. And closer to puck drop when the Leafs didn't have Tavares, they didn't have Marner, they didn't have Riley, and it was down to +164. I mean, the Blues were the right pick on that game the other night. No Tavares, no Marner, no Riley. And the Leafs came out and played one of their best games of the year. Like, I don't know. Like, I think Tavares and Marner are both in the lineup tonight. But okay, so what? So are you going to play a good game or what? Like, you got your 2 big guns back. Are you going to play awesome or are you going to not play awesome, to give you my professional vernacular. I'll be honest, guys. I like Philly in this spot. I think Philly plus 124 is good value. I also think Philly's just playing way better hockey right now. The goaltending for the Leafs has been much, much better than it was back in 2023. However, I just think Philly's playing with more grit. I think they're playing more consistently. I think should the Leafs win this game, yes, I feel like I should be throwing out a minus 110 60-minute line for the Leafs to win tonight. But I just can't shake it, man. I just think Philly. I watch both these teams. Obviously, I follow the Leafs a little bit closer, but I watch all these games, and Philly's just playing a better brand of hockey right now. More defensively sound. I'm just taking. I'm riding with the Flyers plus 124. Konechny and Matthews both have 3 goals in their last 5 games. Matthews is a minus 140 for him to score tonight. Do with that what you will. But Konechny is plus 135. Owen Tippett back in his, I believe, in his hometown at plus 140. Heard him on the radio yesterday. He's got a bunch of friends and families coming to the game. That's the one thing people don't talk about enough, at least from what I've heard when it comes to teams playing against the Leafs, is the majority of the league is from Ontario. Like a lot of the league is from Toronto. So all of these teams have at least one player coming back home. So that's one thing, right? Is you got these teams coming to Toronto and they're playing in front of their family and their friends, right? So that's something that we don't often talk about when it comes to teams coming to Toronto, because we are the center of the universe. Everybody knows that. So yeah, that's enough for me. I'm picking the Flyers plus 124. I just think they're playing better hockey. John, we'll go to you next, man. What do you see in this one?
I'm also on the Flyers in this one. I agree. I think 148 is a little high for my taste. And I don't really trust the Leafs puck line right now. I mean, year-long stats, offensively, the Leafs are definitely the better team, like more than double the success on the power play. Philadelphia doesn't even average 3 goals a game. Toronto's well above it. Goaltending, I think Philadelphia has definitely been the more consistent team, so that's where they make up ground. Like you said, though, Toronto's getting a little better lately compared to their worst points. I just feel like I'm going with the short-term thing, which I know I shouldn't do all the time, but short-term play, Philadelphia is definitely playing better right now. Since the All-Star break, they've won every single game they played. Overall, they've won 4 in a row. And they've looked good doing it, I gotta say. Toronto hasn't necessarily been playing bad. I just don't know if they've been as consistent as Philadelphia. So I also think this is a good matchup for Philly because you said it before. I don't know if Toronto is like a gritty enough team for a team like Philadelphia, whereas Philadelphia might beat you up a little bit. I'm leaning towards the Flyers for that reason in a tight one.
The other thing really quickly, Andre, before we get to you, is you look back at the Leafs' last 10 games, all right? They beat St. Louis. They should beat St. Louis. They lost to Ottawa. They should beat Ottawa, but they lose to Ottawa all the time. They beat Dallas. It's a good team, but they lost to the Islanders. Not a great team. They beat Winnipeg twice, but as we see now, Winnipeg was in a mini free fall during that stretch. They beat Seattle. They should beat Seattle. They lost to Vancouver. They beat Calgary. They lost to Edmonton. My point is, against good opponents, they've been struggling a little bit lately. And so, I don't know. It's kind of mixed bag. But then they beat Dallas. So I don't know what to make of this team. Andre, what do you got, man?
Well, even with apparently half the team sick or not practicing for whatever reason it was, I'm going to once again just completely disregard everything you said about your team and taking the
Love it.
win at Night Park.
Love it.
I don't know. There's something about this Leafs team, at least right now, that I really like. And I think they match up well with Philly. I also think Philly, while they're playing very good hockey, I think they're headed towards the playoffs. I can amend what I previously said. I don't think they're built to score with this Maple Leafs team. Uh, and I'm just going to trust Toronto at home to come away with another win, regardless of who's in the lineup. I think the Riley thing did spark this team internally just a little bit. So high scoring game, but in 60 minutes, or I guess when 60 minutes are up, Toronto is going to have a lead. So give me the 60-minute line at -110 for the Maple Leafs tonight.
That's an excellent point. The over, I think, is absolutely the play. This is a 4-3 game, 5-4, maybe even something crazy. I absolutely agree with you on that one. All right, moving on to the team we mentioned at the top of the show. Florida Panthers are in Buffalo. The best bad team in the NHL, Buffalo Sabres. I think we can say that, right? I'm thinking that on the top of my head here. But I don't know. To me, they're a very good bad team. they coming off a 7-0 shellacking, if you will, against the Los Angeles Kings the other night. Buffalo +130, home dogs -155, road favorites are the Panthers. +1.5 at -192 is the Sabres puck line. -1.5 for the Panthers puck line is +160. The over 6.5 at -102. The under is -118. Andre, we'll go right back to you, man. What do you see back-to-back for Florida? Do you think that matters against the Sabres tonight?
I think it kind of does, especially since I feel like every time the Panthers have had a chance to catch and match Boston, they just haven't done it. Like when Boston went on some early in the year, the Panthers coincided with a losing streak of their own. Now they have a chance to match them again. The second half of a back-to-back is tough, especially since they had to travel. Nothing crazy, Pittsburgh to Buffalo, but it is still travel. And the Sabres, one of those weird teams that you never know when they're just going to decide, hey, I want to beat you 7-0, 3-0, 5-1, whatever. So this is a tricky spot for the Panthers, and I think I'm going to take the Sabres to win again. Do that weird little thing they do. Just more off vibes than anything.
Yeah.
They just have this way of challenging good teams randomly. And Florida is, again, playing second half of back-to-back and apparently refusing to ever keep up and catch up with Boston, even though they're getting the opportunities. So I'm going to take the Sabres money line. Again.
Yeah. I think I'm with you. I know Florida playing last night, Stellaris is probably in the net for them tonight. Truthfully, I don't know how much that actually matters. Like he's been very good for them in the backup role. He's been very good for them in the backup role. So I don't really know if that really matters. Another game I'm probably staying away from financially, just because I do want to take the Sabres on the money line. But there's just no disputing how good the Panthers have been. And I don't 100% trust it. I do trust the over though. I do think that this is a very high scoring game. I can absolutely see it that way. I'm leaning Buffalo money line right there with you, Andre, but I'm a little sheepish on it, to be honest. I'm a little chicken, if you will. But you're right. But you know what though? Like the more that think about it, if there is a team that can keep up with the feistiness of the Panthers, it's oddly Buffalo. Like Buffalo really does challenge good teams. And you know what? I'm right there with you, man. Buffalo plus 130. Absolutely love it. John, what about you, man? What do you see here?
Early in the year, I had a joke that Buffalo didn't like to win back-to-back games, and that has really stuck with me. I know they've started to do so after the new year, but they don't seem to win more than two. I guess they have a chance to do it tonight. Um, with that said, I gotta be honest, guys. I don't have the same level of trust in the Sabres that you guys do. This team is just way too shaky for my liking.
I wouldn't call it trust. I don't know if it's
You guys are
trust.
picking them to win. You have to have a little trust.
Yeah, I guess. I guess you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to have a little trust if you're taking a Sabres money line. Maybe not long-term trust, but short-term. Yeah, I don't trust them like that. My thing is though, the back-to-back does concern me. So I'm a little hesitant to take the puck line here for the Panthers. I feel the opposite about the total, to be honest. I like the under here. The main reason why is, well, there's really two reasons. One, the back to back for Florida, and two, I don't think there's any chance in hell the Sabres are putting up another big number in this game. They scored 7 against the Kings. They're feeling themselves. I feel like if they do win, this will be a low scoring affair. Under 6.5, that's a lot of breathing room, in my opinion, especially with a goaltending team like Florida and a lower scoring team like Buffalo. Yeah, I really like that under 6.5 the more I look at it.
All right, John. Well, you know what? Moving right on to your team, bro.
There we go.
Devils hosting the Kings minus. So an hour ago when I put these in, it was the Devils minus 125, Kings plus 105. Now Devils minus 118, Kings minus 102. So some LA money coming in over the last hour. The over is 6.5 at minus 108. The under is minus 112. Kings plus 1.5 is minus 238. Devils minus 1.5 plus 195. Kings got destroyed the other night. Does that matter? What do you see in this game tonight with your boys and the Kings?
I think it matters. I think it 100% matters. Like this is not a spot I like the Devils being in, and also the Kings. There's just some history there on the Devils side of things where we have a bit of shaky memories with them, so it's always interesting when we meet up with them. But I don't love this spot for the Devils for a couple of reasons. I'm actually going to pick the Kings money line here for two reasons. A, this is the third game in 4 days for the Devils, and they managed to win the first two. I was very impressed they pulled out the Tuesday night game against Nashville. I felt a little uneasy about that one going in, but they managed to win. Ironically, it wasn't because of the power play, but that's another story. Yeah, the Devils managed to win the first two. I don't know if they'll have the legs for this one, especially against a Kings team. I know they gave up 7 on Tuesday night. It's about as bad of a performance as I've seen this year by goaltending. But I got to say, the year-long numbers don't reflect that for the Kings. They're still a top 5 team in the league in goals allowed, despite giving up 7 Tuesday nights. And they've had a couple of games this year where they've given up crooked numbers, and they've still managed to hang on. You could argue, yeah, maybe it's because of the first half of the season numbers or before the new year that the Kings put up. But I do – the Devils are a little shaky with although their goaltending's getting better lately. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I might be talking myself into something, but I still feel like this is one the Kings bounce back and the Devils don't have the legs. So even as a Devils fan, I feel very shaky about this game. I might lean towards the Kings because when you get embarrassed like that, you tend to bounce back. You tend to, unless you're just completely off the rails. which I know you guys might think they are. I'm just not completely convinced yet. I could see the Canes winning this one or stealing it.
Well, super interesting because I'm looking at the standings right now, and this is like a very important game for both teams.
They're both at 58.
Yeah, like with the Devils, 58 points. The Leafs are 4 points ahead. Detroit is 2 points ahead. Both the Leafs and Detroit both play tonight, and both Toronto and Detroit are playing good teams. Detroit's playing Vancouver, a much better team, in my opinion, than Philadelphia. But either way, both of them are playing really good teams. Tampa Bay is 5 points ahead of the Devils right now, and Tampa Bay is playing a very good team tonight as well. Really, really big matchup. On the Kings side of it, they got 58 points. They're in the first wild card spot. But the Predators have 56. Calgary's 55. Minnesota's 55. Seattle's 54. San Jose's 33. San Jose's right on their heels. It's like this is a massive matchup. Andre, what do you see here, man?
Yeah, I don't remember the last time I picked the Kings, and I'm not going to start today. Not even against a bitter rival. At least not this one. If this was the Islanders, I'd probably pick against them. But, no, I think the Devils are playing very well. Hughes is back. I think that was a big boost for them. They're back home for this one. And more importantly than anything, the Kings are bad. So I'm going to break a lot of rules here. I'm going to pick the Devils not only to win, I'm going to pick the puck line. The -1.5 for the Devils at home.
You're giving John a heart attack.
And plus 195. I feel very confidently that the Kings are not good. They're going to score this time, and it's not going to matter.
I mean, I hope you're right. Andre, to support your argument, the Devils have actually covered their last 2 puck lines.
Oh God. Now I'm riding the streak. I think they're going to score like 6 goals in this game, though. And I can't see the Kings keeping up with that. So.
I hope you're right, man. I hope you're right.
Yeah, I really like. Nah, I should say really like. That's an overstatement. But I actually like the Devils in this spot too, man. I think of it a couple ways. So it looks like Talbot is playing tonight. Talbot is 2.63 goals against average, 0.909 save percentage, which means that he doesn't allow a bunch of goals per game, but relative to the amount of shots that he faces, he gives up a lot of goals. I do think the goals against stat for the Kings as a whole, I think a lot of these stats are really inflated because we forget, like, they were really, really good. Like, the Kings were very good. And I think a lot of these stats are still inflated by that. On the other side, you have Vanacek, who a good chance he's starting tonight. 3.18 goals against average, 0.89 save percentage. Not great. So I think the over is an obvious play, almost too obvious, especially with the Kings giving up 7 goals. But Cam Talbot wasn't in net for the majority of those goals. But still, man, I like the Devils here too. I'm not going to get as bold as the puck line, but I'll take the money line here. I just think the Kings don't give up a ton of shots, but this is the Devils. And I don't think that they can keep up scoring wise. And I also don't think that the goaltending can withstand the amount of shots that the Devils put on goal. So I'm taking the Devils here as well. Just the money line though, -118. No need to get greedier than that. Moving on to Tampa Bay. The aforementioned Tampa Bay Lightning hosting the Colorado Avalanche. Minus 115 favorites at home are the Lightning. Minus 105 road dogs, both minus money, are the Avalanche. Over 6.5 is minus 135. The under is plus 114. Colorado plus 1.5 on the puck line is minus 245. Tampa Bay minus 1.5 at plus 200. Andre, we'll go over to you first, man. What do you see in this one?
Yeah, Colorado is finally ending their road trip to start the second half, if you will. And even though they won the last game 6-3 in DC, the first four were absolute garbage performances. Maybe not the first one, but the game in Jersey, the game in Riley, the game in Sunrise were all awful. And the Lightning, for what it's worth, are playing pretty solid even without Sergachev. Their past two games, the Boston win really impressed me. They're back on home ice where they are way, way, way better. And defense stayed afloat again without Sergachev. I like the Lightning at home here. I think their offense is one of the few, especially with that power play, that can keep up with Colorado. And that's assuming that Colorado doesn't revert back to what they were doing against the other teams on this road trip. I think, tired legs, they're just ready to go home. They haven't been home since January. I like the Lightning here to pull this one out in a high-scoring game.
Yeah, super interesting. John, what about you, man? What do you see here?
I'm with Andre here. I feel like if this was in Colorado, I'd be picking Colorado. But the fact that it's in Tampa, I'm giving the edge to them. First of all, both of these teams are incredible home teams. Andre touched on it. The Lightning have won almost more than 2/3 of their games at home this year. Colorado has an 80% record at home too. So they're a pretty good home team themselves. That's part of why I'm saying I think the team at home is the one I'm giving the edge to in this matchup, because they're mirror images of each other. Neither team has great goaltending. Both allow well over 3 goals a game. Colorado is the top team in the league in goals per game. Tampa's not far behind, 3.39 to 3.7. Tampa Bay is the best power play in the NHL. Again, Colorado's no slouch there either. It's what Andre said for me. I feel like Tampa's just a team that can keep up with Colorado style play. The Tampa win on Tuesday impressed me as well. I do think it showed me that Tampa has some fight left in them, and that they might be feeling the heat a little bit. I'll just say this. I think this is a much more important game for Tampa Bay than it is for Colorado as well, outside of the road trip aspect. So I think all of these combined factors make me want to give the edge to Tampa Bay here. I think they come up with the win.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. For the Atlantic and the wild card in the East, this is a huge night. There is a lot of possibilities. If Detroit loses and the Devils win, they're tied. There's a lot that can happen. If Tampa Bay loses, Leafs win, then the Leafs jump them. There's a lot that can happen by this time tomorrow morning. My favorite bet in this, and I know it's expensive at minus 135, but my favorite play in this is the over at 6.5. I would even up it to 7.5. I think both of these teams can score extremely well. And I know Vasilevsky had an incredible night the other night. He was the main reason why they won that game the other night. But with all due respect to Boston, they don't have the firepower that Colorado has. And I see what you guys are saying, and I do understand the end of the road trip, Tampa Bay at home. I do lean Tampa Bay here, but I would much rather bump that over up to 7 or 7.5 and take the over and just sit back and watch a great game, because this is going to be a phenomenal hockey game. And I'm really excited to see which way it lies. All right, moving on to a game, Edmonton Oilers, fresh off of a crazy game against the Detroit Red Wings. They are in St. Louis, rather. Plus 160 are the Blues at home. Minus 192. Talk about expensive. Minus 192 are the Oilers on the road. Minus 1.5 at plus 130 are the Oilers. Plus 1.5 at minus 155 are the Blues. The over is 6.5 at minus 108, and the under is minus 112. This is like crazy. Like minus 192. Like, I know that the Blues are the Blues. They're not juggernauts. They're fighting for that wild card spot, and they will be for the rest of the season. If they make it to the playoffs, I don't think it'll be decided until the last week or two. But minus 192 on the road seems aggressive to me. However, Edmonton's playing really good hockey, man. They went on that crazy winning streak. They had a bit of a setback. They almost lost that game to the Ducks. They almost lost that game, pardon me, to the Red Wings. The Red Wings gave them a real fight. And in the third period, the Oilers just absolutely turned it on. I'm having a bit of a hard time with this one just because I do think that minus 1.5 on the Oilers side is probably the play. There's still something about them coming off that winning streak that just kind of like they didn't win. Like the third period against the Red Wings was convincing, but as a whole, that wasn't a convincing win, like front to back. The game against the Ducks, same thing, but same thing against the Red Wings. That third period, they hunkered down and they got the job done. They got done what they needed to get done, which does lead me to pick the Oilers minus 1.5. I think it's a very close game for the majority, and I think we're going to keep seeing what we've been seeing from this team over the last couple games as the third period comes and the Oilers turn it on. Boys, we've had the Hart conversation a couple times. It's between Kucherov, it's between McKinnon. Well, man, McDavid is playing outrageous right now. 14 points in his last 5 games. 14 points. 12 of those being assists. He's just been taking over these games and just playing at a whole nother level. A little deep dive, not too deep of a dive, but Evander Kane, he's plus 175 to score tonight. He's got 4 goals in his last 5 games. Understanding, I believe one of those games was a hat trick, but he's always a good dark horse, anytime goal scorer for the Oilers. But I am picking Edmonton minus 1.5. And take a look at the totals for the over in third period scoring, because if there's anything like it's been the last couple games for the Oilers, you can pick over 1.5, even over 2.5 with confidence in the third period. There's been lots of goals in the last frame of the Oilers games. Andre, we'll go to you, man. What do you see here in this game tonight?
Well, you can never count McDavid out of the Hart Trophy race, clearly.
Clearly.
Even when he misses
Shame on us.
however many games. Yeah, we're ignorant fools.
Yep.
Clearly.
Fools.
Yeah, this is priced weird. I mean, the Blues have won 7 of the last 9. The Blues have a 620 points percentage at home. I don't really like the Oilers minus 1.5, but I don't know what else I would really feel comfortable taking in this game. I think they're going to win. I still don't think the Blues are a good team. The Oilers are playing very well, but I'm not convinced they're going to win by multiple goals. I think this is going to be another one of those games where the Oilers where it's tight for a lot of the game. That's just, we've seen the Oilers do that time and again during this winning streak. I know that hasn't happened lately since the break, but with the way the Blues play, if they impose their style, especially at home, I could easily see this being like a 3-2 type of game where the Oilers just squeak it out. So, not really loving the -1.5 here. Uh, Not really loving the total either. This might be my stay away game if I'm being completely honest. But gun to my head, I would take Oilers -1.5, and I'd probably take the under 6.5. It just seems like the smarter move for this one, even though I'm not confident in it.
Yeah, I'm torn on this one too, man. Like, there's no doubt the Oilers are the better team, and they're probably the hottest team in the NHL as well. Even though their winning streak did come to an end recently, um, I'm not 100% sold on Edmonton winning tonight. I feel like they're going to, but I don't feel as confident as I used to. I do think this is priced high. Along with the -192 money line, I find it weird that the puck line is +130. So I think that's a bit high, maybe a bit telling too. I'm getting the feeling this is going to be a 1-goal game. I really do. Like, my prediction is Edmonton wins it by 1, which means leaves me in a very difficult spot for like what to bet in this game. You know what I mean? Because that would be my prediction if I'm being straight up. Like, Edmonton wins by 1. But the St. Louis puck line's priced too high too. The Edmonton money line's even higher. I thought about maybe the Oilers 60-minute line. Even that I'm not 100% sold on. But honestly, yeah, I think honestly that's where I would go. The Oilers 60-minute line. Because I do think they're a much better scoring team than the Blues. The Blues don't even average 3 goals a game. Oilers are number 4 in the league in goals per game and also have a great power play. So I'm skeptical the Blues can keep up, but they're a feisty team. And Mark mentioned it before. This is a very important game for the Blues as well. They're trying to hang on to that last wild card spots. And while I don't know if they win tonight, I do think they'll give the Oilers a run for their money. I thought the 60-minute line was around -130 or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but I'm leaning towards that as the safest play in this game.
Yeah, -130.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to Nashville. Nashville against the Dallas Stars. Nashville -114. Dogs at home. Dallas -135. Favorites, I beg your pardon. Dallas is now -155. Nashville is now +130. So some Dallas money coming in early on a Thursday morning. The over is 6.5 at -102. The under is -118. +1.5 on the Predators puck line is -198. -1.5 for the Stars puck line is +164. John, we'll go right back to you, man. What do you see in this game tonight?
Once in a while, I like to pick a dog, even though it kind of bit me in the butt last night with Arizona. Nashville's coming off a tough loss against my team last night, and I'm getting the gut feeling Nashville's going to bounce back tonight. I like them at home here against Dallas. I think the line is just about right considering the way both these teams are playing. Nashville just out of the playoffs, leading the division. Dallas has no doubt been on a good run lately. Post All-Star break, they've looked very good. They're quietly taking the division lead. I thought it was a good win against Carolina Tuesday night. Sorry. Nashville, I think these games are becoming a little more important by the day. They need to start getting some points. I think Tuesday was a tough loss for them against my Devils. And this will be a notable game in my opinion for the Predators. Like they have their division leader coming to their house. I think it'll be one they get hyped up for. And despite the stats, I think this is just a game. I think this is just a game Nashville's more desperate for, and I think they get it.
Andre, what about you, man? What do you see here? You agree?
Nah, I think I'm going to stick with the Stars. They've been playing well, treat me well lately. Wins in 6 of the last 7. 4+ goals in 5 of their last 7. So the offense in particular is really clicking. Getting stops can be and has been an issue, but up against the Predators team, doesn't really score that much. It's not really bothering me in this game. I don't see the Predators being, I know they're cockroaches, as we like to say, but I don't see them being that big of a threat in this one, especially since they took 2 games in Dallas already. I think the Stars are going to want to get them back for that. So I'm going to take the Stars -1.5 on the road here. Actually, scratch that. I'm going to take the 60-minute line instead. I trust that more. But I do like the Stars to take this game. And I think the over is going to be the better play. So I'm going to take the over 6.5.
Yeah. I mean, I've liked Nashville a lot this year. Anytime I see Nashville playing, I always want to side with them. This is a tough spot for me tonight. I'm just looking at the last 10 games for both teams. And yeah, the Predators, they're 3-6-1 the last 10. They beat Arizona. Okay. They were losing that game 4-2 going into or in the third period, came back, won in overtime 5-4. They beat Minnesota. Listen, Minnesota's playing some great hockey right now, but they're still not juggernauts. They beat the Kings. Okay. We've talked about the Kings a lot. we know how we feel. They're losing games to Vegas, to Edmonton. They actually lost to the Kings too, lost to the Devils, lost to the Panthers. They beat Arizona, like I mentioned, but they've also lost to Arizona in their last 10. I just don't really know what to make of this team right now. The Dallas Stars, 7-2-1 in their last 10 games. Listen, they haven't beat juggernauts. They beat Montreal, they beat Buffalo, they beat Washington, they beat the Ducks. They beat the Devils, Detroit. They also beat Carolina the other night too. I just trust the Stars more, and I think I'm gonna roll with the 60-minute line as well. Now the total is what's really interesting to me when it comes to this game, because the total, like I said, it's at 6.5. The under is -118, and while the over does seem like the obvious play for me anyway, Dallas, we've talked about this. They hit overs all the time. But something about this game is just kind of screaming under to me. I do think it's a hard competitive game. Like you, Andre, I wanted to go with the -1.5, but I think the 60-minute line is the best move. I do think it's a one-score game. And because this game, like you said, John, because this game is desperate for Nashville, I can see it being a very, very tight defensive matchup. And I can absolutely see it going under the number, which it is favorited to do so at -118. All right, moving on to our favorite team to bet either against or for. Chicago Blackhawks home against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Pittsburgh on a back-to-back, still favored -218 are the Penguins. I know it's the Blackhawks, but seems a bit rich to me. But hey, who am I? -218 favorites on the road are the Penguins. +180 are the Blackhawks at home. -1.5 for Pittsburgh is +120. +1.5 for the Blackhawks is minus 142. The over is 5.5 at minus 122, and the under is plus 102. I love Pittsburgh to win this game, and I'm gonna do it. I'm doing it. Minus 1.5, plus 120. I'm doing it. This is the thing. We do not know if Gensel is playing tonight, or maybe we do. I haven't heard. I don't know if maybe you guys have seen. I know he got hurt yesterday, upper body injury. Pittsburgh is a very, very desperate hockey club right now, and they need to win. Like, it's almost curtains for them, if we're being honest about it. 53 points. They are 7 points currently back of the Detroit Red Wings. They are 11 points back from Philadelphia in that third spot. That third spot's gone. You can kiss that goodbye. But they're 7 points back of a wild card spot right now. And with all three teams that we've talked about in this wild card position, Toronto, Detroit, Tampa, even the Devils playing tonight as well. I mean, the Islanders, everyone's playing tonight, but you know what I mean? Like, they need to win this game. They need to win it. It's Chicago. This team can't score. I just feel like Pittsburgh's going to dig down deep and deliver a performance tonight to show that they're still relevant. And I don't really know if they are, to be honest with you. I've kind of given up faith that this team makes it to the playoffs. But I do think that they win tonight and win big. I'll take the under 5.5. I think a 4-1 game. I don't know, maybe even 3-0 game. But I am taking Pittsburgh to win this game and to win it comfortably. Andre, over to you, man. What do you see in this one?
I'm doing it. I'm taking the Blackhawks money line.
Oh,
I'm doing it. The Penguins aren't scoring right now, and what's very concerning. 2 goals yesterday, 1 goal on Saturday, 2 goals on Friday. They won last Tuesday, coming out of the break, a shutout win. I guess 3 goals is acceptable, but it's not really anything to write home about. And for all of the Blackhawks' flaws, stopping the puck at home isn't really one of them. They allow fewer than 3 goals per game in United Center this season, 73 goals against in 25 games played. And they're a few wins off 500 on home ice this year. We'd like to talk about Mrazek standing on his head and that team just playing better in front of their fans. And I buy into it. You see them fight at home all the time, even the Canucks game. Sure, they lost 4-2, but they cut it to 1 in the second period. They never really got ran out the buildings till in the third. I just think they're overdue for a win. They're on their home ice against a team that's vulnerable, a team that doesn't really have the skill depth-wise to fully challenge that roster. And I think the Blackhawks are actually going to pull this one out. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, and the Blackhawks are going to pull out the win.
Yeah, fair points. Absolutely. John, what about you, man? What do you see in this one?
I feel like I got the angel and the devil on my shoulder here. It's like, do I join Andre in picking the Blackhawks money line? Because I think if I were to pick either side, I would lean towards the Blackhawks just because the value's there. And I'm very tempted to, because I do not like the spot for Pittsburgh at all. The way they looked on Tuesday night and what Andre said, they're really not scoring right now. But the other part of me is like, remember, John, the Blackhawks don't do you any favors, ever. They never do me a favor. They're cursed. They're cursed, man. I mean, E-Rock almost got a Blackhawks outright win with the jersey on last week against your boys, Andre. So,
That's right.
and the Rangers didn't even cover the puck line that night. I my point is, part of me really thinks Chicago money line it could be a play here. Other part of me is like I'm still a little jaded from past results. I might just let you two duke it out on that result and go with the total here. I do like that under 5.5 because I agree with you, man. Pittsburgh doesn't score. They and Chicago's the second worst team in the league in goals per game as well. So the total's low, not a lot of room to work with at 5.5. I just don't see this being a high scoring game. So I'm just gonna let you two fight it out between the two teams winning, and I'll just stick with a low scoring game. I like the under.
It's funny that you mentioned E-Rock because, like, to me, E-Rock's jersey is the epitome of the Blackhawks season this year. Like, the colors look good. It's still the Blackhawks. The colors look good. They're feisty. They're in it. But the logo was like, wasn't it like off? Like it, like
I didn't
what,
get a
like,
good look at it.
I feel like the
I think it was
logo.
just slightly oversized, maybe, so it just was hanging weird. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like he said it was like hanging off and he peeled it off or something. So it's like, yeah, it looks good. The colors look good. They're around, they're hanging around, but there's really no teeth to it. My son's doing this new thing where he growls at me like a lion. It used to be cute, where it's like, hey, what sound does a lion make? And then he growls, but now he just growls at me just like for fun. All right, moving on to we got 2 games left. San Jose on the road. Our beloved Sharks. Your beloved Sharks, John, are playing Andre's second team, his home away from home. The Calgary Flames. They are at home. They are minus 360 favorites. Plus 285 are the Sharks on the road. Over is 5.5 at minus 115. The under is minus 105. Plus 1.5 for the Sharks is plus 114. Minus 1.5 for the Flames is minus 135. I know we've been going to Andre first for the last few games, but Andre, is your team, man. Your second team. You're bleeding orange and red right now, or yellow and red, or whatever it is. Andre, what do you see from the Flames and the Sharks in this game tonight?
Well, Mark, I got to tell you, I woke up this morning. I looked at my Jerome jersey from way back in 04, and I said, wow, this team is back. No, but all seriousness, this is...
You have a Jerome jersey?
I don't. I wish.
I wish you did. That is a sick jersey.
Might have to invest now if they keep making me money. Maybe that'll
Yeah,
I'll
man.
start a Calgary fund, and that'll buy me a jersey. But this game is easy for me. I don't want to rip on it too much. I know they lost their last game. Calgary played phenomenally on Monday, especially Markstrom in net. Might be first star of the week again. Who knows? And now they're finally back home. Now they have what is the second worst team in the league by points, I believe. Sharks also played yesterday. San Jose, I salute you for your service yesterday. You won us the parlay. You made us some money. It ain't happening today. You had to fly across a couple provinces. You're on the road for the second straight night. You're not that good. You're not scoring much. Calgary is on a heater. Give me the Flames minus 1.5, even at minus 135. Considering minus 2.5, but I don't want to get too greedy and jinx it. Over 5.5 for me for sure is the play. I think the Flames are going to score like 3 or 4 in this one. So
yeah, don't overplay your hand with the minus 2.5. I don't love the minus 135 or minus 1.5, but we've seen dark things happen to those who take minus 2.5 on this show. Speaking of which, John, what do you see in this game tonight, bro?
Y'all took the words right out of my mouth because the Sharks are playing bad, but I don't know if I'm willing to fade them at 2.5 bad. It does seem like the sports books are heavily favoring Calgary in this game, considering you you can't even get positive odds for the puck line tonight against Calgary of all teams. I think I'm agreeing with you guys, and I think it'd be greedy to recommend a shutout play back-to-back nights, even though it paid off yesterday. Well, for those who decide to take my advice anyway.
Yo, did you do that? Like you
No, because
recommended
I
it,
went to the game. I forgot all about placing any bets.
dude.
Oof.
That because you nailed it, man. It got the +1.5, got the under, and the shutout. Like that's wild.
We all really teamed up on that one.
Yeah,
Mark,
man.
Mark had the under, Andre had the Sharks puck line, and I had the shutout.
I love it.
That was a real pucks across borders pick if I've ever seen one.
That's right.
Yeah, I just think it's a little greedy to recommend another shutout play, despite how poorly the Sharks are playing. I'm leaning towards what you guys are saying. Play it safe and eat the costs of the puck line. Calgary 1.5. I feel like they can win by 2 at the very least.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, man. Like, you play Hellebuck last night. You're probably playing Markstrom tonight. I could see them not scoring at all in their Prairie road trip from Winnipeg to Calgary. I can see it happening. Why not? Crazier things have happened in the Sharks season. They were 4-2 at one point in 6 games. That's crazier. Them winning 4 out of 6 games is crazier than them not scoring against Hellebuck or Markstrom.
It really is. That's how low of expectations we have.
That's how tough it's been. Yeah, I don't think there's really too much. I'm really excited for this game just because I'm really excited to see how Calgary continues to play, man. I've really been encouraged by how this team has been playing. This is the best that they've looked since the Huberdeau trade last summer. And I really like what we're seeing from them. -135. It is expensive. But I like it. I also like the over 2, Andre. I think you're spot on with that. I think 5.5 is a low number simply because now, that being said, Calgary can win this game 5-0 and we just missed the over. So it's a little bit concerning. A little deep dive here, dark horse, if you will, for a goal scorer. Mackenzie Weegar has scored 3 goals in his last 5 games. He's a defenseman. He is +390 to get one tonight. So, hey, he's the hot hand right now. 3 goals in 5 games, +390. It's a nice plus money on a guy who's been scoring lately. All right, moving on to, man, there's tons of good games tonight. Like, I think Toronto-Philly is a really good game. Devils-Kings is a very important game. Colorado-Tampa is a good game. This might be a candidate for game of the night. Vancouver home against the Detroit Red Wings. -185 favorites are the Canucks at home. +154 underdogs are the Red Wings on the road. -130 is the over at 6.5. The under is +114. Vancouver on the puck line is -1.5, is +130. Detroit on the puck line +1.5 is -155. John, we'll go over to you first this time, man. What do you see in this game tonight? No plus money for the Canucks tonight, man. It's the exact opposite.
Yeah, this is one of the few times where they're heavily favored, although they were against the Blackhawks and they actually covered. So there is that. Game of the night, I'm not sure if I go that far. I didn't really think about what I thought was the game of the night until you mentioned it. I might lean towards Colorado-Tampa there for me. I think that's the one. For me, at least. Like, I'm a little interested to see how that plays out because they're like so similar to each other.
Right.
It could be a good test for both. But this would probably be top 3. It'd be on the podium. It's a good way to close off the night, too. I am interested to see what this Detroit team is made of because I think they fell apart at the end against Edmonton. They were hanging in there for about half that game, and then Edmonton kind of took over. And now it doesn't get any easier for Detroit. Obviously, for bias reasons, I am rooting for Detroit to lose tonight. Devils really need to catch them. So Detroit's pretty much public enemy number one in New Jersey at the moment. Rip the Lions. So I have to hope that the city of Detroit continues to suffer in the sports world with the Lions and the Pistons. And apparently there's an 0-26 college basketball team from there too, from Detroit.
Oh, geez.
Or
college basketball?
Or they were playing an 0-26 team. I forget exactly.
I will say, though, real quick.
No, they were the 0-26 team, yeah.
Detroit Mercy. Yes.
Sorry, I was just going to say lots of negative energy around Detroit. They have one of the coolest bowling alleys that I've ever been to. So there is hope in Detroit. I forget what it's called, but it's sick. It's a double-decker bowling alley, beer, the whole deal. Great spot. So if you're feeling depressed, go check out that random bowling alley that I can't remember the name for and get your spirits lifted. John, continue.
Way to salvage the mood. I like that.
Thank you.
Motor City got to go bowling.
Yeah, right, it was great.
With that said, I'm going to, I guess, partially for bias reasons and partially because I don't love the way Detroit's playing against the big boys right now. I don't think this is a great matchup for them. Detroit's a great scoring team, but Vancouver's even better. Vancouver can match them with power play as well. Like, I think the problem for the Red Wings here is that the main strengths they have, Vancouver can counter it, plus they have a deeper team and better goaltending. So I think I'm taking the Vancouver puck line with that said.
Andre, what about you, man? What do you see in this one tonight?
I'm also taking the Vancouver puck line. It's a phenomenal team. I don't really think I have to back myself up too much here.
No.
But looking at the Red Wings, I sense a slump coming. The schedule's getting kind of tough. They got Vancouver tonight, Calgary over the weekend. They're in Seattle. Then they're back home hosting the Avalanche. It's another tough game. And this is a team to me that's just streaky. Giving up 8 goals, kind of foreboding. I know it's the Oilers, but just the way that happened, I don't know. It's kind of ominous to me. The offense is never an issue. That's why I like the over in this game and most of their games, especially since Vancouver's for sure going to have like 4 or 5 goals in this one. But I don't know. I think Detroit's been riding high a little too long. They're starting to stagger wins and losses, and for me, that's telling that another one of their streaks is going to come. So just the long-term prognosis, if you will. But for this game, Vancouver -1.5 and over is where I'm leaning.
Yeah, I mean, at first glance, I'm leaning Vancouver -1.5 as well. I do think Vancouver's got to watch themselves here, though. Like, first of all, they lost to Detroit on Saturday. Detroit won 4-3 in overtime. Vancouver was winning that game, and they deserved to win that game until they collapsed at the end. Detroit 6-3 and won their last 10 games. They did lose to Edmonton. They've lost to Ottawa, Dallas, and Carolina. Dallas, Carolina, and Edmonton, there's no shame in losing to 3 of those 4 teams. They beat Vancouver, they beat Vegas, they beat Philly, they beat Tampa Bay, they beat Florida, they beat Toronto. Like, they're beating some pretty good teams right now in their last 10 games anyway. Canucks are getting a bit sloppy right now. They're still winning games, but they're giving up a bunch of shorthanded goals. They're not playing that sound hockey that we have seen from them all year long. I do like Vancouver -1.5. I think I like the over more. To me, I will say this as well, is as much as I do like the Canucks -1.5, I think The 60-minute line is expensive at minus 135. I don't know. I like the Canucks minus 1.5. I do, but I've been watching this team a lot, and they're getting a bit cocky out there, and they're not looking as solid as they have looked. Still winning games, but like I said, man, Detroit, like they've been beating some good teams, and the teams that they've lost to, there's no shame in it. Even Ottawa, man, like Ottawa's not a good team. But they're playing well this time of year, and they'll make you work for it. Like they're not going to bend over for you. Like they're going to make you sweat it out. So I am picking Vancouver minus 1.5. I think I like the over more. Just a little warning shot to Vancouver fans, man. Like Vancouver, I still think if I'm going to pick one team in Canada, if I have to pick just one team in my country that can win the Stanley Cup, I do think it is Vancouver. But they got to smarten up a little bit here heading into the last stretch of the season. All right, boys. As always, let's wrap up today with our best bets brought to you by First Round Collectibles. As I said at the top of the show, Christmas, the gift that keeps on giving. Their Christmas sale is still booming, up to 50% off tons of sports cards over at firstroundcollectibles.com. Use promo code SportsAddict for 10% off any sport card on top of the discount. If it's not discounted, you get 10% off. If it is discounted, you still get 10% off. Whatever sport you want: hockey, baseball, football, basketball, wrestling, boxing, you name it, they have it. Firstroundcollectibles.com, number one, STRoundcollectibles.com. John, let's start with you, man. What you got tonight for a best bet on a full night in the NHL?
So with all these games to choose from, the two I'm mainly debating between I find interesting because it's a little unexpected for me, at least. I'm going back and forth between the Tampa money line and Ottawa's puck line. I never thought I would consider Ottawa for a best bet ever in a
Not
million
the
years.
two I thought I'd hear you say, for sure.
I know. I don't know if I can get myself to do it. I don't think I can, honestly, in case Anaheim bounces back, because they lost 5-0 Tuesday nights. I think I'm going to go with Tampa Bay. They're a really good home team, and I do think they're a mirror image of Colorado right now. And I said it before. If this was in Colorado, I'd be picking Colorado. But with Tampa's win on Tuesday night, I do think they can counter Colorado's strengths and, get a nice win at home. I think it's a little more important of a game for them as well than the Avalanche. I like the Lightning to come out on top there.
I don't know if I'm just used to last night. I felt super confident about all of our picks last night, and that's a sweaty one right off the bat, bro. Going against Colorado right up the top. Absolutely love it. Andre, what about you, man? What's your best bet tonight?
Well, what I want my best bet to be is Calgary minus 1.5, but those odds are no bueno for best bet. So, gonna pivot just a tiny bit. I'm going to take the under in Boston. I'm going to take it all the way back to the beginning of the slate. Not trusting either offense right now. It's that simple for me, really. Boston's obviously a phenomenal goaltending team. Seattle, quietly a top 10 team at stopping the puck. And with two ice-cold offenses, I think that bodes well. So give me under 5.5 in TD Garden.
Absolutely love it. Man, deceptively tough slate in the NHL tonight, betting wise. At least from a result standpoint. I'm gonna go a bit off the board here. I'm going to go a bit off the board here. Kind of change it up a little bit. I'm going to the Pittsburgh-Chicago game. You look at the player props. Gensel is not on any of these props. Good chance he is out for the foreseeable future. This team, their playoff hopes are hanging on by a thread, which means that I really do think that Sidney Crosby, he's already had a phenomenal season. He's been turning back the clock all year long. I really like what he's been doing. And you know what else he's been doing all year long? He's been making me money. And you know what? With him being the kind of guy now, I know he's always been the guy, but like Gensel's been a phenomenal player for them as well. There's a whole side conversation to this, by the way, that if they are in fact out of the playoff race, they want to trade Gensel. And if he's hurt, that's a double whammy for them, but that's a whole other conversation. My point is Sidney Crosby over 3.5 shots tonight is at -110. I think he steps up his game even more, carrying the load even more with Gensel out because of injury. So, a little off the board. Give me Sidney Crosby over 3.5 shots at -110.
Very good, Mark. Very good. The Tampa Bay Lightning money line at home against Avalanche is -115. Thank you, John. I chose the under in Kraken at Bruins. That's -112 in Beantown. Mark chose Sidney Crosby, Sid the Kid. He's not the kid anymore. Over 3.5 shots on goal against the Blackhawks at -110. Parlay together, that's +575.
Not bad.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Well, gentlemen, very full show. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening, whether it's right now, whether it's later on in the day, whenever, wherever. We appreciate you. Follow us on all of our socials, like and subscribe on YouTube, all that good stuff. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think, only if it's positive. We're all very fragile, so please be careful. And yeah, tomorrow's Friday. Only one game in the NHL, if I remember correctly. But both of your teams are playing the Stadium Series this weekend. So we'll talk a little bit about the Stadium Series. We'll go into those games, and maybe we'll talk about my team a little bit because I'm self-obsessed and I can't help myself. So until then, everybody, thank you again so much. Maybe even I've been supposed to reach out to him. Maybe even we'll get a little return of the E-Rock, return of the Rock. I think he had a lot of fun with us last week. He almost upset your Rangers in the best bet segment. Maybe we'll reach out to E-Rock if he wants to come back. But either way, everybody, thanks again. We will see you tomorrow.